So today we're doing something a little bit different. This is actually a two-part episode. We're going to be doing a soup and salad combination. Now the salad I made before on this channel, it's a very delicious Vietnamese chicken salad. Link for that will be in the description down below. Today we're going to be making wonton soup to go with it. So you're going to need a pot for that, your large knife, especially if you're doing the salad because you have to cut through cabbage, your cutting board, a spatula, and we're going to be soaking some noodles, so any bowl that's big enough to soak the noodles is great. I really recommend making both of these dishes, especially together. It's a nice, wonderful, fresh springtime meal. So with that, we'll get into the ingredients and start preparing our food. So for the soup, we're going to have some delicious wonton soup. It's nice, it's light, has plenty of nice vegetables in it. So those vegetables are some celery, baby bok choy, carrots, and onion. Now I'm adding some chicken today. I like to use leftovers whenever we can here, so we have some leftover chicken thighs. I'm going to chop those up and put them in. That also is nice because they're already cooked, so you don't have to worry about cooking them when you're doing the soup. So we're going to have 1 container of the chicken stock. You can add more if you want it to have more liquid in there. We're going to have a little bit of the soy sauce. We're going to put some of the yakisoba noodles in there. Now we're going to soak them beforehand because they don't need to be boiled and cooked in the stock itself. That way they'll already be absorbed all the moisture, so it won't absorb the stock later. If it does, you just, when you're doing leftovers, just add a little bit more, that's fine. You obviously need wontons, whatever your preferred is, or if you're so inclined, you can make them yourself. We also need some garlic, sesame oil. I like putting in some turkey bacon, and we're also going to add some of this extra firm tofu. Now the tofu and the bok choy, remember those have to go in at the very end or else they'll overcook and be very mushy, and we don't want that. So it's going to be pretty easy, nice and light. So let's go ahead and start prepping and getting the soup going.
All right, we want some fairly decent sized pieces with this. So I like to take 3 strips and then cut it in thirds, like that. And just about like that. Just want a few little strips. You don't want them too big that you can't get them on the spoon, and you don't want them super small because you want a nice bite in it. We're doing the carrots just a little bit different today, so I'm just gonna go and just half them like that because you want nice small pieces. When you're doing the bok choy, you want to remember that the different parts cook differently. So go ahead and take the bottoms off. Isn't that cute? Don't they look kind of like flowers? So this part is harder and it cooks much slower than the leaves do. So the leaves act kind of like spinach. As soon as you put them in there, they immediately start wilting. So after you get them off, make sure that they're all the way clean. Run these under the sink real quick. Set the leaf aside. So go ahead and line up like that. Now, if you have bigger ones like this and you want them smaller, just cut them like that. Not that big of a deal. You could also cut them this way if you want them even smaller. They do shrink down a bit, just not as much as these. And you won't want these quite this big, so go ahead and cut those in half too. So we're only doing about half the package of the yakisoba noodles, so go ahead and put them in and break them up. And we're going to do this for about 10 minutes because we don't want them to be absorbing all the stock when we have the soup. This way they can absorb the water and already be nice and supple before you put it in. So just leave that aside for 10 minutes. Just like everything else, we want to have some nice bite-sized pieces so everything fits on the spoon. So go ahead and do a thin slice like that. And 2 or 3, depending on how much you want in here. I'm going with 3 today. Just stack them. Okay. Put that aside, we'll use the rest of that later. Then we're just going to cut this kind of like French fries. Okay, now you have the nice matchsticks. You can leave them like this if you want, or you can also cut them in half like that. And that should be good for what we're doing today. Okay, on to the next. Okay, we're going to have our pot on a medium-high heat to start with, and we're going in with the bacon first, just to get that a little crispy. Have it loosen up a little bit. Just moving around with the oil. Break it apart. You don't need to cook this for too long because we're going to go in with our vegetables too. So about 2 to 3 minutes should be fine on this.
Isn't that a great sound?
We've crisped up the bacon a little bit. You're going to move it down to medium-low heat and go in with the vegetables. So this is the onion, the celery, and the carrot. We're holding off on the bok choy until later. Just toss this around, get it all nice and coated with all the oil and the bacon grease. It'll be very good. Once again, just a couple minutes. You just want the onions to get a little bit translucent. You don't want them fully cooked because they will cook some in the soup. Now that these have been cooking for another 3 minutes, we're going to go in with a big old tablespoon of the garlic. Just stir that around. Do this for about 30 seconds, just so it has a chance to cook a little bit. And then we're going to go in with the broth. Okay, now that we've been doing that for another 30 seconds, we're going to go ahead and put the broth in. Stock. I don't know why I always screw that up. So I cut a hole here. It makes it easier, flows out better, because the air can come in here instead of everything coming in here while this is trying to pour out. So just a good trick to help you with that. Stir this around. We're going to move it back up to medium-high heat at this point, and we're going to get it to a low boil. And at that point is when we're going to add in the wontons. Okay, now that we have it going at a light boil, we're going to go ahead and add the wontons. Now these are frozen, so it's really going to cool this off pretty quickly here. And this is also a good time to add your yakisoba noodles that we've drained. Just stir this around. I'd recommend lowering this to about a medium-high heat, letting it come back up to a boil again. Once it comes back up to a boil, you're going to need about 2 minutes for this type of wonton. Look at your package for instructions on that. All right, this has come back up to a boil, and it's been going for a minute out of the 2 we needed. So now is a good time to put in the harder parts of the bok choy. Let them cook just a little bit. Don't do the leaves yet. And this is also the time to add the chicken so the chicken can come and get some warming up. Now this is a little bit thicker than you might want it. If it's too thick for you, just go ahead and add some more broth. It'll be delicious either way. Okay, now that we've boiled this and the wontons are done, we're going to add some soy sauce. However much you want, it's one of your main flavors in there. Mix that around a little bit. A tiny bit of the sesame oil. Not too much because you don't want to overpower it. Stir that around. Now I recommend giving it a little taste test. Make sure you don't want any extra. Make sure you don't burn your mouth off. I think this could use just a tad more soy, but not too much. Remember, always taste it right before you're ready to serve. That way you know what you're doing. All right, and since this is off the heat, we're just going to put the bok choy leaves. And the residual heat will take care of that, and then we're also doing the tofu. So just let this sit for about 2 to 3 minutes, let it cool down. And by then this should be wilted and the tofu will be nice and warm, and you'll be ready to serve your soup and salad. All right, now that you can see that they did wilt down pretty well. So go ahead and remove this from the heat, and we have our salad here. So it's time to have our springtime Asian inspired soup and salad for dinner. Thanks for watching.